Welcome to the Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 special closed session meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Director Chan,
Present.
Director Coleman,
Present.
Director Lenny,
Here.
Director McIntosh,
Here.
Director Patterson,
Present.
Director Young,
Here.
President Katz.
If members of the public are online and wish to make public comment, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on non-agenda items will be heard at the beginning of the meeting. Comments on agenda items will be heard when the item is up for consideration, which is also at this time. Madam Secretary, are there any hands online for public comment?
There are no hands online for public comment. You have 2 cards at your place.
Thank you. I will call Eric Larson, followed by Tony Martin.
Thank you, President Katz and board members. You'll recall I came to you on September 26th with security and safety concerns. We came to you before the administration building got shot up. We came to you before criminals smashed through the gate at Oakport facility and smashed service trucks and stole equipment. We came to you before somebody was shot just a block away with safety and security concerns, and recommended more district security be available for our crews or Oakland Police Department or sheriff's deputies. And before we came to you, we came to management, and they told us their resources were limited. This is about worker safety, and the district needs to step up and provide more resources. The criminality in our area is becoming more blatant and more brazen than ever. The district needs to provide better security before somebody is hurt or killed. Until there's an improvement in regional public safety, all night work must have a security guard present. Solo workers should be paired up wherever possible to provide better necessary crime deterrence and provide safety and security for our members. We need a security guard present on all night work jobs, starting today, starting tonight. The cost of failing to do this is putting our lives at jeopardy, and that's unacceptable. Please take note of this during your closed session meeting.
I plan on making a brief response. I'll make that after calling Tony Martin. Director Coleman.
Clifford, Eric brings up some very valid points and their concerns. Maybe it's a gross way to look at it, but a fiscal way to look at it. What is the cost-benefit analysis to this agency if somebody is injured or hurt due to criminality? Because sometimes that's what it gets down to, the pennies and dollars. And it may cost a lot more if somebody's injured or killed on the job, which hopefully that won't be the case, versus hiring somebody to be around to deal with these issues.
Yeah, we haven't, and I don't plan to do that type of cost-benefit analysis. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to meet with all the heads of all the unions to talk about additional work that we're going to be doing. We do plan, we have money to add additional security to support the field crews. We do plan to come to the board on November 14th to add dollars to our security contract. We're also making other improvements in terms of putting kind of those mobile security units that you see at the parking lots of various supermarkets, at the yards, at the AMC. We have to upgrade the glass in this building as well as some of our other yards with bulletproof glass that have been targets. So we outlined a number of things that we're working on and shared that with the union. Yesterday, I also had the opportunity to meet with a meeting organized by the Oakland Chamber to bring a lot of businesses together. The mayor's chief of staff was in attendance as well. This was late yesterday to talk about how businesses can work together to also address this issue, because this issue goes far beyond what any one agency can do. So, but we also recognize that it's going to take some time before that takes effect, and so we do need to put some short-term measures in place. And short-term might, it's going to be a little while. But there's a cost associated with it, but as we have always said, the safety of our employees is number one.
Thank you for that. Can we get a memo just on the discussion that took place yesterday and what the actions are going to be going forward?
I can provide that.
Thank you.
Tony Martin?
Greetings, President Cat, Executive Board, Board of Directors, General Manager Chan. Again, my name is Tony Martin. I serve as First Vice President for Local 444. My concern is, as Eric stated, security. A great example, I drove into Oakport yesterday morning, 5:30. I'm an early bird. The gate had got rammed. I drove in, I parked, I sat in my vehicle for a while. Not one security person drove by, not one. So it led me to believe that, let's say it happened at midnight, and that gate was like that throughout the whole night. There was a vehicle that was damaged, was broken into. On the other side, there was a welder's truck that was broken into. Items were taken. And this is not the first time. The welder said they've been hit 4 times in 6 months. Now, can you imagine all the equipment that the district has to constantly replace because there's not a physical body there constantly? And I'm just stating Oakport. And can you imagine all the other yards that have to go through this? Director Coleman, I appreciate your comment about the cost of one physical person getting hurt or even passing away. You stated, Clifford Chan, the general manager, that employee safety is number one. As an employee, out of all honesty, I really don't feel that way. That may be coming from you personally, but as far as East Bay Mud is concerned, I don't see it. Our crews work at night. I brought this issue up so many times. We have females who work on call at night. And if they have to go to a yard or to a certain location by themselves and something happens, then the district will react after the fact. If you love us, prove it. As much as we do for East Bay Mud, as much as we have to represent East Bay Mud, as much as the rates go up and consumers yell at us and we have to keep our mouth closed for East Bay Mud, we don't make the decision to raise rates, but we get the repercussions behind it. There's been so many vehicles, even on job sites. I talked to a foreman yesterday. He had to do a job. They said he couldn't close. The city would not have let him do traffic control. They had to schedule that job at night because of the location. He said, will he have security? The superintendent said no. He called security. They said no. He eventually got security there to sit on the job with them. His downside was he appreciated it, but the security officer was 70 years old. 70 years old. No disrespect to that person. But think about the people who represent East Bay Mud, the people that everybody else sees. They see us, they very rarely see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Joey Smith?
Good morning, President Katz, directors, General Manager Chan, General Counsel. My name is Joey Smith, and I am speaking as an employee who's been here since '92, and also as a concerned president of my union. Not too long ago, I had asked for phones for my staff when I was in Local 21 because they were in remote areas and they worked swing shift after dark and all that. 3 different budget times it was refused. I got frustrated and I said something that unfortunately came to pass. Someone was killed by gunfire, and we didn't have a way to communicate. Thank goodness it wasn't worse than it was. 2 months later, we had phones. We don't want to repeat that. Back when we had SARS, I was told when I asked if we could get the sanitizer stations in the building and around, I was told, work with our architect to make sure everything goes right. I went through the whole process of doing that, and it went nowhere. It fell flat until we had COVID-19. Imagine the money we could have saved if we had gotten that back then, been proactive instead of having to be reactive to something that was right in front of our faces. You have an opportunity now to take this recommendation, and we unions are doing our best to work with the district in ensuring that we're all looking out for everybody's safety in any way that we can possibly do so. We respect the fact that there's consumer funds. We do. But hey, there's some grants out there too that we might qualify in order to deal with safety. So thank you for your time. Enjoy your closed session.
Thank you. I want to just briefly respond that I want to thank all of our employee representatives or union leaders for raising these concerns with us at multiple meetings. And when I was informed about our administration building being caught in the crossfire of bullets last Friday night, I informed the mayor of Oakland. She expressed her deep concern and has included the district through our general manager in safety discussions. And there are initiatives that will be in the medium and long term that we will be included in. In the short term, I've discussed this with the general manager, who has assured me that we are able to provide security accompaniment for any employee working in the field upon request. And I think we have a lot more work to do to sit at the table and talk about what are the options, and then to bring what we can't resolve in that manner to the board. So I'm looking forward to hearing reports in the future about how we're putting employee safety first. Thank you.
I'd like to just, well,
It's got. There you go. Don't tap it more than once, sir.
I'd like to join with the president of the board and the board members. Employee safety is most important. You can't know how important it is because our work product will go downhill fast if we begin to lose employees. And I say that only to say, on the Saturday before I took my trip east, in my own neighborhood, there were two house break-ins. And in the interim, they stole my 1992 Mazda truck, and it's still at loss. So we have hired security. It was a mandate that went through the neighborhood. And so we now pay in and have a security service. We also have more service from the City of Oakland Police Department, especially down towards Skyline Boulevard. But this is where you have to really anchor down and come together. And you should be thinking about it beyond EBMUD in your own surround, because things are not the same. And I just want to remind everybody that we have to come together and work together. But we hired a security service, and we haven't had anything happen since that time. they patrol in our neighborhood. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you, Director Patterson. And the next speaker is Yvette Rivera.
Thank you, Director Katz. Before I launch into my list, I just want to acknowledge what the AFSCME representatives just said. I want to tell you this issue has been a problem since I got here in 2005. The board always asks for memos. It's like the bridge to nowhere, memo to nowhere. Our security guards can't even carry pepper spray. Think about that. They're useless. They're scared. As well as the East Bay MUD employees, they're scared. At least when I worked for the county of Sacramento, they would pay the police to come and stand by while employees were working in hazardous areas. This board has the power to say to these people, because you're the bosses, that's what we want done. But you're not. You're going to go ahead and let this slide as usual and issue these propaganda statements. We care about your safety. Now I'm going to talk about my own stuff, even though that also is related. I provided you a list. It's going to be documents that I'm going to give you in a little while, actually at the next board meeting. The first one is going to be the Turner memo that was issued in 2015 in response to a board request to respond, which talks about the EERP. In her memo, I'm going to give it to you at 12:45, she talks about how the EERP is old, and that's why it's not posted, but anybody could ask for it. But guess what? You repealed it in 2000. I think it was 2000. I already sent you that in an email. It doesn't exist at the district, so employees have to rely on the state MMBA Act. And the MMBA Act says that I can come and speak to the district about matters of public, of employment concern. Anybody. I'm not going to negotiate, but I can speak. Every union member can come and speak on matters of public concern. And the district is really supposed to take those things into consideration, not what the union says only, but what each individual employee says. The second document is a warning letter and a retraction letter that I got in 2015. I really wanted for April Chan because she wasn't here. It was issued, and Clifford Chan was the director of my group at that time and let that retaliation happen. It'll accompany PERB complaints on the same issue. The superintendent at that time that issued it, when it was retracted, he wasn't even the person who retracted it. The third item is going to be, actually the fourth item is going to be the arbitrator's response to East Bay MUD request for reconsideration on deciding whether or not foremen at the district are supervisors. He specifically said paving foremen and painter foremen are not supervisors, and general grounds foremen and the carpenter foremen are supervisors. I'm providing that document today. I already emailed it. I'm going to go ahead and just say for the Pierce Bland issue that you're going to talk about in the closed board meeting, that decision was issued in July, and for every day it's about $1,000 of interest accruing, and I would say that's $90,000 so far. So I hope you're planning on paying that up. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Madam Secretary, are there any further comments from the public?
None.
We will now, Vice President
Mr.
McIntosh.
President, Yvette raised an interesting issue about, I think Tony raised it briefly as well, about the security guards and who shows up and whether they can't even have pepper spray. And I can imagine a security guard showing up on a scene in the dark. Yeah, he's probably scared too if he has nothing to defend the employee with or him or herself. So I'd really like, when we're talking about this, to include that conversation because it really matters. Just sending somebody to a site means nothing if they can't protect the employee or themselves. So I'd really like to have that discussion as part of this general discussion about what we're about to do and who we're going to hire and what they can possess as far as weaponry. So I think that's just a needed conversation as part of this.
If I could tee off of what you said, Lisa, I think it's important, I know the board made a decision several years ago that the people here, our security here, are not allowed to have a weapon. I disagreed with it. And maybe that needs to be revisited, but the other thing that's as important is what happens if somebody gets into the building who does have a weapon? What is our process for shutting down the building and getting employees out of the building safely in the event that were to happen? The cards we have, it doesn't, I mean, somebody can jump on an elevator with somebody else, that's life. So just what can and cannot be done, and what are the protocols to protect the employees, not only in this building, but other sites as well?
All right, that concludes our public comment for this meeting. We will now convene to conference room 8 to discuss closed session agenda items. We are scheduled to return for the special business meeting at 12:45 p.m. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 special business meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. We will receive reports from this morning's Finance Administration Committees under item 11. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Director Chan?
Present.
Director Coleman?
Present.
Director Linney?
Here?
Director McIntosh?
Here.
Director Patterson is on his way. Director Young?
Here.
President Katz?
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an announcement for the closed session. The Board of Directors approved the ad hoc committee's recommendation that after a review of the entire record, the ad hoc committee found each allegation by Ms. Lana Coleman against General Manager Clifford Chan and General Manager Derek McDonald to be unfounded. The board found that no further investigation is warranted, and the investigation is closed. We move on to public comment. First, I will ask the district secretary to go to online comments. If members of the public are online and wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on non-agenda items will be heard now. Comments on agenda items will be heard when the item is up for consideration. Madam Secretary, are there any public comments?
No one online for public comment, and you have a couple of cards at your place.
Yes, the first speaker in the room is Yvette Rivera on non-agenda items.
The only cards for public comment are your cards.
All right, thank you. And the mic is on.
It's on.
Thank you. This morning I provided you a list. I'd like to wait until Director Patterson is seated. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yes?
He can hear you, Yvette.
Thank you. Welcome, Director Patterson. This morning I gave you a list, and I wasn't able to provide everyone a copy of every document because the meeting happened so soon. But I did provide Director April Chan, Director John Coleman, and Director Lisa McIntosh a few of the documents, and I will provide documents via email after I scan them to the rest of the board. I mentioned, because the Saji Pierce case is on the agenda, that every day after the decision by the judge passes, interest is accruing, and it's about $1,000 a day, maybe more. So I would say after 90 days, it's about $90,000. Almost, it's getting up there. So I hope that the district is making plans to pay that up. I provided Director Chan some older documents, because she wasn't here, but the rest of the board members were here when I was being retaliated against. And the Ninth Circuit referenced a few of the retaliatory actions and said that they needed to go back to a jury to look at the evidence. And I mentioned this morning that Clifford Chan was the general manager the department manager at the time that allowed all that retaliation to happen, and that I filed perp complaints. I provided an arbitrator's response, and what I didn't mention this morning is that the Zafra upcoming hearing against East Bay MUD is happening. It's a public meeting that's available on Zoom. I wanted to let you know that Derek Moten is refusing to release some documents. I provided him an email and I CC'd you, but I wanted to remind him that I provided a document from First Amendment Coalition, and there are pages in there that reference how contracts should be available to the public, and they provide an example of how the contract itself is disclosable. I want to mention that the last thing I want to mention is I've been getting pretty much retaliated against for a while. I filed about 7 responses to termination letters, and I will provide in an email some of the evidence that shows that the retaliatory actions were basically brushed over in those determination letters. I really am so happy that I was able to get the document that Saji Pierce provided to East Bay MUD in response to their investigations. Obviously, the jury thought otherwise, even though the district thought nothing happened. And David Briggs, sitting right here in the front, ratified those actions by not doing anything. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to end by saying it's Halloween, happy Halloween. I wanted to play a recording of Derry Moten speaking about witches outside of East Bay MUD in his personal time, and he recounted how the subject was working in a place of employment, and he referred to women as witches, and I'm not sure if it was a trope or if it was how he felt or if he didn't really believe they were witches, but I really wanted to play that today for Halloween because
Your 3 minutes have concluded. If you
Thank
can
you.
wrap up your comments.
because I'm not saying that someone shouldn't be employed at East Bay MUD, but I'm wondering if that's the best candidate to have as the head of our DEO department. Thank you. I yield.
We move on to the consent calendar, and I should just double check, are there any other public comments online?
No public comment online.
We move on to the consent calendar, items 1 through 9. There is public comment on item number 1, so we will consider the minutes separately from the consent calendar.
I'll move items 2 through 8, is it?
2 through 9.
2 through 9?
Second.
Moved by Director Linney, seconded by Vice President McIntosh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The motion carries. Item number 1, the minutes. Ms. Rivera, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I wasn't shocked when I read the minutes, and I think Director Coleman now can feel my pain when you say something. And then East Bay MUD takes the liberty of creating, I guess I'm going to call it an affirmative defense, where the facts definitely aren't represented in the minutes. And something that drew my attention immediately was how the minutes say that I talked about my proposed mediation. That has to be further than the truth. I mean, how you could think that that wasn't going to slip past me. I came to the board meeting last time, and I specifically said that I was being retaliated against, that I was being forced to undergo mediation, that I was given a directive that came after I told Mr. Derry Moten, no, I would not be engaging in mediation in response to me reporting retaliation by David Carlson. So, I want to know, I'm not going to demand, I want it on the record that I'm asking for East Bay MUD to fix those minutes to show that I was reporting retaliation based upon being forced, given a directive, and being told that I would be disciplined if I didn't participate. And as everybody knows by now, the union stood up for me. The retaliatory warning letter that I received was called what it is. Not a counseling memo, it was a warning letter. And I'm still waiting for an apology and a retraction. Obviously, the documents that I've given Director April Chan, Director John Coleman, and McIntosh show what I did in 2016 to address an unwarranted warning letter. History repeats itself at East Bay MUD. This board of directors can change the course, but you do nothing. Go ahead and ask for another memo. I yield.
I'll move the item 1.
Second.
Moved by Director Lenny, seconded by Vice President McIntosh.
Are the minutes going to be corrected?
The,
I didn't hear a request.
that was not in the motion. And the Secretary has an ordinary amount of discretion in summarizing comments. And the district's whistleblower policy was part of the summary in the minutes.
May I ask that, similar to a previous request, that the minutes be revised, that the comments today reflect the speaker's request that the minutes be revised and those comments be captured to basically speak to what was written in the minutes. I can go back and check the transcript. I review the transcript, I review my written notes before I document anything in the minutes. And so I would ask the board to consider approving the minutes as written, and then today's minutes and comments will capture what Ms. Rivera stated today. Not verbatim, but it will capture what was stated today.
I think that's helpful. All right. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain? Motion carries. We have on determination and discussion, a general manager's report.
Yeah, the only item is the attached Speakers Bureau. It's at your places. If you have any questions, let me know.
Committee reports. The minutes from the October 10th, 2023 Planning and Legislative Human Resources Committees were included in the agenda materials. We will now receive an update from this morning's Finance Administration Committee meeting. Director Patterson.
Yes, the Special Finance and Administration Committee met this morning. We had the monthly investment transaction report, and we had the quarterly payroll disbursement, real estate summary report, both water and wastewater, the voluntary agreement funding, all those matters you just approved when you did I'm sorry, I was looking for the number, but anyway, you approved those with the I'm sorry, a little bit beside myself. When you did the items earlier that you approved, this was one of them. Fiscal year key performance indicator report, fiscal year audit preliminary findings, the applicant project process improvement, yay, moving up those people who are coming aboard to get water turned on. These were the items that were before us. They were heard by the committee, and the committee did recommend those transactions over, and you did confirm them when you did the consent calendar. Those are the items that came from this morning.
Thank you, Director Patterson. Other items for future consideration, please submit items for future consideration to the general manager. And director comments, thank you if you have already submitted your written comments to the secretary. Are there any verbal director comments or reports? Director Coleman, and then Director Young, and then Director Patterson.
Thank you, President Katz. I'll say I'm a little disappointed by the decision in closed session. I guess I'm not surprised, really, in the light of everything that's gone on. Disappointed is a minor way for me to say it. It really calls into the question why I'm sitting here. Thank you.
Director Young?
Yeah, on a different note, I had my board briefing since our last board meeting at San Pablo Reservoir, and may I just say, a delightful place to have a ward briefing. It is where my ward briefing will be from here on out. We had about 50 or so people in attendance. Half of them were members of the general public from my ward. We put out a broad invitation, and I think it was just lots of great questions and interaction with folks, and I really want to thank the staff that participated in making it happen. And then this past Saturday, in my water ferry attire, attended the water walk at Mountain View Cemetery. Unfortunately, I had to leave early, but again, a great turnout, probably about 35 or so folks to hear Clifford expound about the history of people and people related to them that are buried at Mountain View and their relationship to East Bay Mud and East Bay history. So a continued great part of our 100th year celebration. Happy Halloween.
Ready? I wanted to comment, and I wanted to ask your forgiveness for my late coming into this meeting. I was on the phone, it's been ringing all morning. My godson died about 8 days ago, and they were calling to confirm the funeral, which is going to be Friday at St. Benedict's at 11 o'clock. That's the day that we have the retreat. And I'm going to try to steal away over the lunch period to go to St. Benedict's. But I did want to thank all of the staff, the board, everybody who sent any word of encouragement while I was ill. I am fully recovered, and I'll get past Mel. It's been a rough sleigh. He was a good young man, and he was faithful. So that's my 2 cents worth today. I did want to reflect on the Congressional Black Caucus that I attended, and I wanted to say words today because every time I go anywhere, people are asking me what happened. And the main thing that you need to understand is that this was a year that the caucus looked back. It looked back to the days of civil rights, and it went back to say, how did we get through that? There are people who don't know how Martin Luther King held everybody together in nonviolence. You see, how could King get Stokely Carmichael, who said, "If you touch me on the arm, I'll break your leg." Stokely was violent, but violence doesn't win anything. And this is what we're learning in the world. How do we come together? And how do we join together? Violence cannot prevail. Love and moving ahead, the gentrification and some of the things that have happened to people that have driven them outside of the bounds. If you see the warning signs, help pull them back. Let's go forward together. We're looking at where we came from, those things that worked, that made us go forward. Everyone should look into their vista, look into their setting, and find ways to reach out and move forward. I yield.
Thank you, Director Patterson.
I just want to say how proud I am to be able to serve with Bill Patterson on this board. Thank you, Bill.
If any of you have talked to me personally about Director Patterson, I've always described him as the conscience of this board.
And with that, the next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be held on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 1:15 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.